Today's Gospel is taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verses 15 to 21. I would like to start with the verses 18. I will not leave you orphaned. At some point, we all want or even need to hear these words. They speak directly to some of our greatest fear and challenges: abandonment and isolation, loneliness and vulnerability. They remind us that we are not destined to walk in this earth without an identity or direction. We do not stand alone. Anyone who has ever lost their loved ones, a spouse, a child, a friend, security, hope, knows the orphan's questions. What will I do now? Where do I go? What happens next? Who will love, nurture, and guide me? Who stand on my side? What will become of me? Those are the orphan's questions. Those are the questions I imagine running through the heads and hearts of the disciples in today's Gospel. That the context in which I heard Jesus say, I will not leave you orphaned. It's not that different from the context in which Jesus said those words. It is the night of the Last Supper. Disciples have been fed, feet have been washed. The betrayer has left. It is night, dark, and Jesus announced he is leaving. The one for whom they left everything now says he's leaving. We do not know where you're going. How can we know the way? Show us the Father. More orphan questions. We fear becoming orphaned. That fear points to the deep reality that by ourselves we are not enough, because we were never intended or created to be self-sufficient. We were never intended to stand alone as individuals. We were created to love and be loved, to live in relationship as persons giving themselves to each other, to dwell, abide, and remain within each other, even as the Father is in Jesus and Jesus is in the Father. I will not leave you orphaned. That is the promise. Regardless of the circumstances of our lives, storms, death, separation, we have never been and will never be orphaned by God. How strange that must have sounded to the disciples. In the same conversation, Jesus tells them that he is leaving and coming. Leaving and coming sure sounds like opposites. Leaving and coming, present and absence. That is what Jesus has set before us in today's Gospel. That tension confronts us with the question of whether Jesus for us is a past memory or a present reality, a sentimental story that makes us feel good, or a living experience that changes, guides, and nurtures our life. According to Jesus, the answer to that question is determined by a love that is revealed in fulfillment in keeping His commandments. The commandments to love our neighbor as ourselves, to love our enemies, to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Whose feet do we wash and whose feet to ignore? What are the boundaries of love? Do we keep the commandments? Is our love growing, expanding, transformative of ourselves and the world? If so, Jesus is probably for us a present reality, and we know the fulfillment of His promise that we are not left orphaned. If, however, we are not loving so much, if we remain self-enclosed and isolated, we relegate ourselves and each other to the orphanages of this world. Every time we expand the boundaries of our love, we push back the orphanages of this world, creating space within us where the Father and Jesus make their home. Keeping the commandments is our access to Jesus' promises that we will not be left orphaned. Keeping the commandments does not make Jesus present to us. It makes us present to the already ongoing reality of Jesus' presence. The commandments do not earn us Jesus' love. They reveal our love for Him, a love that originates in His abiding love and presence within us. I will not leave you orphaned. Over and over, day after day, regardless of what is happening in our lives. That is Jesus' promise. We have not been abandoned. Do not abandon ourselves, yourselves or others to the orphanages of this world. Love with all that you are and you have, even as the Father and Jesus love us with all that they are and they have. Amen.